Hey guys, in this video, we're doing lesson 1.2, which is on arithmetic, not arithmetic, arithmetic sequences. So an arithmetic sequence is a type of sequence. So it's a sequence that adds the same number each time. So it adds the same number each time. So in an arithmetic sequence, a common difference is the number being added. And this number can be negative. So if you're adding a negative number, that's really the same thing as subtracting, but it can be negative. And so if we're going to find the common difference, we're going to take any term and subtract the previous term. So any term, and we're going to subtract the one before it. And that's going to tell us the common difference. So we've got some examples here where we are going to determine if it's arithmetic or not. And so when we're actually figuring this out, we need to check we need to check the difference between all of these, because it's possible that I might add 3, add 4, add 5, add 6. We want to make sure that we're adding the same number every single time. And if we are, then it is going to be arithmetic. So what we can do, now sometimes you might be able to tell just by looking. So I know that 5 plus 3 is 8. Okay, well, what is 8 plus 3? 11. Plus 3, 14. Plus 3 is 17. So yes, this one is arithmetic, and that common difference is 3. Sometimes you'll know right away. You can tell what number is being added. If it's just like plus 3, plus 2, but when you get negative numbers involved, you might want to use your calculator. So for example, on number 2, let's see. I can tell that these numbers are getting smaller. So my difference, if it is arithmetic, my difference would be a negative number. So let's see. 16 minus 23, negative 7. So let's see if that number stays consistent. 9 minus 16. 2 minus 9. Negative 5 minus 2. So notice I took one term and I subtracted the one before it. And yes, it stayed the same. So my difference is negative 7. So if we start at the beginning, 23 plus negative 7 is 16. 16 plus negative 7 is 9. So the common difference is negative 7. Okay, let's look at number 3. So from 1 to 2, you say, okay, well, I'm adding 1. 2 plus 2, what's 2 plus 1? 3. So it's like, this one might be arithmetic. It looks like I'm adding 1. But what's 3 plus 1? 4. If I was adding 1 every time, my next number should be 4. And then the next one should be 5, but it's not. This is really plus 1, plus 1, plus 2, plus 3. So this one is not arithmetic. You have to add the same number every time. Number 4. I got some negatives. Let's just use our calculator. So take one term and subtract the previous one. So negative 8 minus negative 6, negative 10 minus negative 8, negative 12 minus negative 10, negative 14 minus negative 12. And yes, all of those numbers are the same. That's what makes it a yes. And so my difference is negative 2. I want you to pause the video and try numbers 5 and 6. All right, number 5, it is yes, and the common difference is 12. So remember, if I take negative 23 minus negative 35, we get 12. If I do that every time, we're going to get 12. Number 6, I bet you said yes, negative 10. But this was a trick one. It is no. If I check almost all of them, I'm going to get negative 10, except right here. Negative 4 minus 4 is negative 8. So they would all be minus 10 except right here. So that's why it's important that you check all of the numbers. So that's how we determine if it's arithmetic or not. If you remember back to the previous video, I told you we're going to be looking at formulas. And so there's a specific way that you can make a formula for arithmetic sequences. All right, so this is what it is. A sub n equals d times n minus 1 plus a1. So if we remember, d, that is our common difference, and a1 is our first term. So this formula that we write could help us find any term. So if we wrote a formula out and then I ask, what is the 200th term? Remember from yesterday, we just plug in 200 for n. So we're going to find the formula and write out the formula, and then it gives us a specific term to find. So number 7, our formula, we first need to figure out the common difference. So look at these numbers, use your calculator, and figure out what the common difference is. It's 4. Questions like these where I'm not asking if it's arithmetic, you can assume that it will already be. I'm not going to ask you to do this and have a trick question in there. So the common difference is 4. We're going to leave in. You might be tempted to go ahead and put in 24, but when we just write the formula, we don't want to plug in anything yet. We want a formula that would work for any term. So n minus 1 plus my a1 is negative 5. Technically, this is not wrong, but I expect in advanced algebra 2 for you to be able to simplify this, meaning distribute the 4. So an equals, this would be 4n minus 4. So if we distribute the 4, and then a plus negative is really just minus 5. So this is 4n minus 9. And this is your rule or your explicit formula. Then I ask for a 24. So we're just going to plug in 24. And we get 87. So this is the formula or the rule. And this is the 24th term. So if I were to keep adding 4 and make this giant list, the 24th number would be 87. All right, number 8. First, we need to figure out the common difference. So if you want to use your calculator, it's going to be -9. Take any term, subtract the one before it. So -9 and minus 1 plus my first term is 20. Okay, so I distributed the -9, and this becomes -9n plus 29. And then it asks for a sub 15, which is the 15th term. So -9 times 15 plus 29. We get -106. I want you to pause the video and try number 9. All right, on number 9, your formula, you should have got -3n minus 3. If you didn't get that, go back and check to make sure you distributed correctly. And for your 38th term, you should have got -117. Now, if you got the formula wrong, then you would have got this one wrong. So let's look at some other examples using arithmetic sequences. All right, so we're going to talk about finding the missing terms in the sequence. These are common questions that you'll see. So if we're looking here, in order to find this missing term, now we could guess and check, but to do it mathematically, we need to know the common difference. And there are a few ways to do this, but the way that I prefer, let's just assume this is A1, so this would be A2 and A3. It would work, I could have assumed this was 10th, 11th, and 12th term. As long as we're using 3 consecutive terms, it doesn't matter. And so my A1 is -20. My A3 is 40. So to find the common difference, we're going to take 40 minus -20 over 3 minus 1. So 40 divided by -20 divided by 3 minus 1. And this becomes 60 over 2, which is 30. 30 is my common difference. It is not the number that goes in that blank. I have to use my common difference to figure out this number. So if my common difference is 30, that means I'm adding 30 every time. So -20 plus 30 is 10. And 10 plus 30 is 40. So we're going to do the same thing. This would be A1, A2, A3. This would be A4. So my common difference, I'm going to take these big numbers, 49 minus 31 over 4 minus 1. And this becomes 18 over 3, which is 6. So that means that I am adding 6 each time. So 31 plus 6 is 37. 37 plus 6 is 43. And 43 plus 6 is 49. I want you to pause the video and try number 12. This one would be my A1, 2, 3, 4. This would be A5. So to find my common difference, -2 minus 22 over 5 minus 1. And we get -6. So we're really subtracting 6 every time. So this becomes 16, 10, 4. Let's look at the next few types of questions. On all of these questions, I'm given the first term and some other term. And you are asked to write a rule. You're going to write the formula. So remember, AN equals D n minus 1 plus A1. You might want to write that down so you don't have to flip back and forth. So I do have my A1, but I don't have my common difference. So we're going to use kind of the same thing that we used up here to find the common difference. So I'm going to take -7 minus 3 over 3 minus 1. This would be -10 over 2, which is -5. So my common difference is -5. My A1, we already know, is 3. So let's put that together and write the formula. -5. Remember, when we write a formula, we just leave in. Then we're going to distribute the -5. And then I have the +3. And we get -5n plus 8. All right, number 14. We have to find the common difference first. This will be 6 minus -17 over 24 minus 1. And this is 23 over 23, which is 1. So my common difference is 1, meaning I'm adding 1 every time. And then the formula. Got my 1, n minus 1, plus my a1 is negative 17. So if I distribute 1, that's just n minus 1, and this would be minus 17. And we get n minus 18. And I just realized it does say to find A12. And I've totally been missing that. So we're just going to pretend that's not there because we don't have room anyway. If I wanted to find A12, we would just plug in a 12 for n. Number 15, I want you to pause the video and try this one. So 15, you should have got your common difference is 4. If you didn't get that, you might want to go back and check on that one. And then your formula, you should have got 4n minus 1. And let's just find A12 for the fun of it. 4 times 12 minus 1 is 47. Okay. Now the next 3 questions, all right, it's telling us to find a particular term. Well, in order to do that, we have to have the formula, unless you just want to start at 25 and add 10 25 more times. But it's very likely that you're going to mess up, and I expect you to do it the formula way anyway. So we have to find the formula. So in the formula, we need the common difference, which we have. We also need our first term, which we don't have. So we're going to have to work with our formula a little bit to find the first term. Now, when it says an, that's any term that we want. We have a term. So we're going to let this be my an, the term that we have, which means that n is 25. So any term, an, any term. So if I have a sub 25 is 217, I'm going to put that in place of an. And then my common difference is 10. I do know I'm going to use 25 for my n. And doing it this way, we only have one variable, a1. So I can figure out everything else. So I'm going to replace this with 240. And then we just subtract 240 from both sides. So my first term is negative 23. Now these questions, the directions do not tell you to write the formula or to write a rule, which means we don't have to write it out and distribute. We can just go straight into plugging in my 50. So if we're finding a 50, My common difference is 10. Let's just go ahead and plug in 50. If I specifically said what is the formula or what is the rule, you would have to start out by putting in there and getting your like -5n plus 8. But I didn't ask for that, so we can avoid that step. So my common difference, my n is 50 and my a1. And we can just type that whole thing in the calculator. Make sure you put either -23 or you do plus negative. And we get 467. All right, number 17. So if this is my AN, I'm going to replace AN with -176, and I can replace N with 17. That's going to help me find A1. So -176 equals, my common difference is -10. My N is 17 plus A1. So when I plug in this part, I get -160. So -176 equals -160 plus A1. And then if we add 160 to both sides, we get -16. So my A1 is -16. And so then I'm going to find A50. So my common difference is -10. My N is 50. And now I know my A1 is -16. So I don't need this 176 or this -176 anymore. That was only useful in finding A1. So type that in your calculator. And you get -506. I want you to try number 18. So pause the video and try that one. Okay, on this one, we know my AN is 203. So I'm going to let 31 be my N. So if we solve this one, let's see, you should have had 210 right here, plus A1, getting -7 for your A1. So for your 50th term, we had 7, and we had 50 minus 1 plus -7, which was 336. Okay. And then the last types of questions that we're going to do here are these. So it says find N. Okay, well, what is N? N is your term number. Okay, and so let's just remember our formula. and see what information that we have to go in the formula. Because if I'm finding n, I need to be able to plug in everything else. So do we have an? Yes. Do we have common difference? No. So we're going to have to find the common difference. We've done that, examples 10 through 15. We did that. N is what we're finding, so no, we don't have that yet. Do we have A1? Yes, we have A1. So let's start out by finding our common difference first. So remember, for our common difference, we can use any two terms that we've got. We can do 43 minus 7 over 5 minus 1. And this gives us 36 over 4, which is 9. So then let's go to our formula. AN, we know that's 178. Common difference is 9. Don't know our N, that's what we're finding. And my first term is 7. So let's distribute the 9. Then we can combine our like terms. And then just solve this equation. So if we add 2, we get 180 equals 9n. And then dividing by 9, we get 20. So the 20th term in the sequence is 178. Now, you could have, after you found the difference, you could have just kept adding 9 every time until you got to 178. But who knows, that could have been 500 times. You don't want to do that. Okay. All right, so let's look here. Common difference, -4 minus 4 over 5 minus 1. That's -8 over 4, which is -2. Then let's go to our formula. AN is -30. My common difference is -2. We have n minus 1 plus my A1, which is 4. So let's distribute. And then we combine like terms. Then if we subtract 6, we get -36 equals -2n. And then if we divide by -2, we get 18. Since we're talking about the number of terms, your n should never be negative. We don't go backwards in a sequence. We only go forward, so we're only going to have positive numbers. So if you get a negative number here, you've messed up somewhere. And then, again, pause the video and try number 21. All right, so for your common difference, you should have got 4. If you didn't get 4, go back and look and see. You might need to refer back to some of these examples. And then for your n, you should have got 13. So I know there's a lot of different types of examples. The thing that you need to do is just read it, figure out. Most of the time you're going to be using this formula somehow. So you've got to look at the information. Oh, sorry, you can't see that. This formula. You've got to look at the information that the problem gives you, see what you're trying to find, what you don't have, and kind of start there, because there's so many different ways that you might see examples. You can't just always assume you always find the common difference first, because that may not be correct. So it's really important that you always refer back to the formula and look at what you've got and what you're trying to find. And if you need help, feel free to ask. Have a great day.